So the TLDR is, I think the medication was much easier on my body than I expected it to be, but at the same time, the prep was much more complicated than any medication that I have taken in the past. It's great in terms of helping you do tasks around the house, but it's not as good, at least for me in week one, for things like reading, writing, tasks where you need to sit down and focus for a long period of time. Hey guys, my name is Carolina and I just started my journey taking Elvanse, also known as Vyvanse. I think that's the name of it in the US. I'm just going to be sharing with you my journey of how it has gone over the first week, you know, what I did in preparation, things like that. You can see all the different elements we're going to be discussing today. No pressure for you to watch the whole video. It's probably going to be really long. So if there are any specific parts that you're interested in, feel free to skip the rest and just find whatever is useful for you in this video. But obviously, disclaimer, my experience is probably going to be very different than somebody else's. You know, everyone reacts to medication differently. Discuss everything with your doctor. And if you're unsure of something, also discuss it with your doctor. This is just me providing my experience and, you know, kind of sharing what I dealt with so that you might be more prepared for it when you start your journey. So this is the optional part of the video where I talk about my reasons for taking the medication. If that's not something that interests you, you can skip to the next section. I've been diagnosed with ADHD only this year. I guess I'm one of those people who got their diagnosis pretty late. I'm actually diagnosed with ADHD, which is ADHD and autism. I also always struggled with things like anxiety and still take medications for anxiety, citalopram in my case. As you might know, if you've been formally diagnosed with ADHD, there are different types. So there's hyperactivity, inattention, and then there's a combined type. So my type is that third type combined. I'm not entirely sure how much that influences my experience of taking the medication, but I think it's worth mentioning this in case, you know, you have a different type of ADHD. So things I struggle with are, you know, basically the things that any neurotypical person does not struggle with. The easy stuff, doing the dishes, remembering to brush my teeth always at the same time, issues around just staying focused, especially on tasks that are not ones that particularly interest me. I'm sure if you have ADHD, this is not new to you at all. Okay, so in the first place, here you have a cheat sheet of the things that we will be discussing in this section. You know, if you've watched this video already and you just want to quickly remind yourself, if you want to screenshot this part so that you have it around, go ahead, here you go. All right, so what did I do to prepare? Well, first of all, I didn't know that there's going to be any prep involved with this medication. And then I got to the meeting with my ADHD meds prescriber. Immediately, I was just shocked and slightly overwhelmed with the amount of things that she was mentioning. I do recommend that you bring a notebook with you. I mean, I have it in my notes here. So, you know, it's stuff around how much protein you're supposed to have with your breakfast, you know, what time you're supposed to take the medication in the first place, the fact that you might want to take magnesium or electrolytes, how much water you're supposed to drink. You don't necessarily need to take as long to prep as I did. I specifically spoke with my doctor about the fact that I wanted to have a week that turned into 2 weeks of prep before starting the medication. Also, by the way, I don't drink coffee or alcohol and don't take any fun-inducing things. I'm trying to be vague because I don't know if YouTube would demonetize something because of something like this. If you do any of the three, and your doctor will likely ask you whether you do, then again, there might be more prep on your side to, you know, be in a place where you can start taking the medication. I believe you can't take any of the three, but do check with your doctor. Let's go through the list. If you have regular sleep pattern, if you sleep for 8 hours, you will probably have an easier time with Elvanse. And at that time, I think I was going to bed at 4 p.m. and waking up in the middle of the night. It just wouldn't have worked. Especially since my doctor, you know, started the meeting saying, oh, you know, take the medication between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. And I just looked blank at her like, yeah, that's definitely going to happen. So that was the reasoning for why I needed extra time. I was feeling really optimistic and thought that I would be able to shift my whole sleep pattern in a week. That didn't happen. I needed 2 weeks for that. If your sleep pattern is non-existent or really bad, I recommend you discuss with your doctor whether you can maybe, you know, take 1 week to prep, maybe call it 2 weeks, just so that you're starting from a good base. The thing that was more important for my doctor specifically was my protein intake. I believe there are 2 reasons for it. One is that the medication just feels better. Maybe there are, you know, less severe fluctuations in how it works when you have enough protein. And then secondly, it's because your hunger cues will be non-existent or reduced while you are on the medication. So you might not know that you're already hungry. So, you know, if you get enough protein, then at least you know that your body is properly fueled. My doctor was very specific about the fact that she wanted me to have at least 20 grams of protein with breakfast. If you can research beforehand if your breakfast has 20 grams of protein, or whether, you know, you need to add something to it to make it 20 grams of protein, that's, I guess, preferable. You can buy somewhere a lot of protein snacks so that you have something on hand, especially if you get to that point where you thought you just weren't hungry and then you realize, no, actually I was hungry, but I wasn't feeling it. And now I'm being really anxious because I've left lunch for too long because I was too focused on doing the dishes that have been waiting for me for 2 months now. You know, normal scenario. And therefore, you know, you start panicking and you need to grab something really quickly. Yeah, so snacks are really good for that. If you have hard time tracking how much protein you're having, any tracking app would be good for that. It's not about you tracking daily, you know, how much you weigh and whether you're, you know, exceeding your daily calories or anything like that. On that note, I was told that here in the UK, I will be asked kind of on a monthly basis to provide my blood pressure, heart rate, and weight. For blood pressure and heart rate, that's because they want to make sure that the medication is not increasing it too much, I believe. And then in terms of weight, it's actually the opposite. It's about tracking whether you're not losing too much weight too fast. Because again, you're not gonna feel hungry, or you're not gonna feel that hungry while taking the medication. So it might be important for them to check you're not starving yourself, essentially. For myself, I track my calories in the first week, mainly to make sure that I didn't lose any weight in that first week, because I know that when I lose weight, I get a bit anxious. Overall, it would be beneficial for my health specifically to lose a little bit of weight, but this is not a weight loss channel. You do whatever works for you. I'm just letting you know, this is my experience. The last thing in this section is magnesium and electrolytes. If I were to prepare again, I would buy both in advance instead of doing what I actually did. Electrolytes replenish some minerals that you will be losing while, you know, you're running around trying to keep up with your water intake and all this sort of stuff like that. And magnesium should help with fatigue, sleep pattern, maybe a little bit with muscle recovery from all your running that you will be doing on this medication. So I woke up at 6 a.m, but I was absolutely terrified of the fact that I will have to take the medication later that day. So I spent about 2.5 hours in bed, just freaking out about that. And then around 9 a.m, I finished my breakfast and started the medication. I thought, you know, if I'm gonna sit down and start doing something productive on my laptop, then by the time the medication kicks in, I'm gonna be amazingly productive. I'm gonna have everything that I need to do done. I'm gonna have a day where I'm hyper-focused on work-related stuff. And that didn't happen. So after about 30 minutes of me anxiously staring into my laptop screen, I just knew I had to get up. And it was both because I felt like my body wanted to move and I wanted to do things, not cognitive things where I'm reading and writing, like things around the house. And also, I needed to go to the bathroom. And that was one of my first side effects. So I don't know if everyone experiences this, but I've seen someone on Reddit say that, you know, on your day one, remember to be near a bathroom because you're gonna need it. And I thought he meant something different, honestly. No, you just need to pee all the time. It is something that goes away the longer you take the medication, but on day one, being close to the bathroom is exactly where you want to be. Side note, I'm not really talking much about how much water you should drink on day one, but you should also remember to drink water. The other symptom I alluded to slightly already, restlessness. So sitting down, working on your computer, at least not for me. Again, I don't know, maybe depending on what ADHD type you have, you can, but for me, week one, not happening. not happening at all. I could run around the house. I could get rid of boxes that have been waiting for me for months to be folded and thrown out. I could rearrange my kitchen drawers. I think during the first day I did about 11k steps, and related to that restlessness was the magnesium incident. Going to the bathroom as much as I am, getting some electrolytes into my body would probably be a good idea, and I didn't have them. But frankly, I just wasn't that bothered about that. But with magnesium, I mean, my muscles were aching. They were properly aching. I can't even say that this is because the medication itself made my muscles hurt. No, I was just running around constantly. And I was thinking, okay, well, I guess magnesium would be good for that. And I knew that there would be a drop because I'm on lower dosage, therefore, you know, it doesn't work for the whole day. Again, I'll speak about it a little bit more later. Knowing how much I was moving, how much I was doing, I was starting to get a little stressed about that drop. But on the other hand, I also knew that the medication might mess up with my sleep. I was also wondering whether the hyperactivity will stop. I mean, I knew it should, because like I said, the medication should drop, and it should drop before the end of the day because I'm on a lower dosage. But it just didn't feel like that would be the case. I was really stressed about that. And so I decided that it's best to figure out how I can acquire more magnesium. And by more, I mean any, because I didn't have any. That's why I'm telling you that you should buy magnesium beforehand, because my doctor told me to buy magnesium glycinate, I think it's pronounced, but it was nowhere to be found because of how restless the medication was making me when I was, you know, trying to sit in front of a laptop. That became a very anxiety-inducing activity. I think there's an element of when you are on medication, you get this urge to do stuff immediately. So like you see that something needs to be done and you just get up and do it. So with more cognitive tasks, it was the same. If I couldn't solve a problem in 2 minutes, I was getting angry and I was getting anxious. It felt really important at the time. Don't get me wrong, I think magnesium did help me in the first week, but the level of anxiety it was causing me at the time was let's just say it wasn't proportional to how big of an issue that was. So since I couldn't leave the house because I would need to be close to the bathroom at any given point, I called my friend to try to secure the medication that way. It sounds really weird. Essentially, I just told her to go to the pharmacy and try to buy magnesium and also electrolytes if she's going to be already there. That's when I realized that I was speaking really fast. I was having some issues with being brief enough to explain to her why I need magnesium, what sort of magnesium I need, and why on earth this is such a big problem. I'm not gonna lie, that was probably a 20-minute call. 20 minutes to tell someone that you need magnesium glycinate and electrolytes. Also, if you have ADHD, try to explain to your autistic brain that the fact that you don't have a specific thing that you were told to prep for day one is not an issue. Because it's really easy from the ADHD standpoint to say, well, okay, I'll figure it out on day one. But it's only easy until that autistic part of your brain says, well, actually, we don't have something that we really needed for today, and it is a problem. So yes, I have sent my friend on a wild magnesium goose chase. It was about 1 p.m. The medication was definitely in its peak. I was getting some anxiety. The anxiety itself wasn't too bad, but I think it could have been slightly avoided, if not, well, the magnesium incident, first of all. If you're going to take the medication, I would probably try to schedule, you know, a little snack between breakfast and lunch, just to keep you a little bit more level. And by around 2:30, I started getting exhausted. By the time I was finishing lunch, instead of sitting with the plate, I was just laying on the couch with my plate just propped up in front of me. I just wanted to lay down, be still, preferably not move ever again. The drop from the medicine was definitely very noticeable on day one. So around the 2:30 mark, I had my electrolytes, and then by about 3 p.m., 3:30, that's when I felt like myself again. Slightly less exhausted, but equally not as hyper as I was on the medication. And I know that, well, at least for myself, I really worried about what that will mean, you know, will it really be myself? Long story short, yes, pretty much. I mean, right now it's 7 p.m. The me you see here is the exact same me you would see, you know, a month ago before I started taking the medication. There were some days where, you know, I felt maybe a little bit more down, but any single day that I skipped the medication, because my doctor told me to take it 6 days a week, I still felt like myself. So in the evening I had dinner, I took my magnesium, went to bed, slept well, and woke up the next day to do it all over again. So that is the summary of day 1, but I'm sure that you want to know how the whole week went and, you know, what sort of side effects I've experienced and how I dealt with them. So let's go through that list. The first thing that's important to understand is the medication fluctuation that I have been referring to throughout the video. In terms of Elvanse, I think about them more like painkillers, right? So like you take a painkiller, it takes a little bit of time for it to start working, it works for a bit, and then it drops off, and you would need to take another one to, you know, keep on feeling the effect of the painkiller. So my dosage of Elvanse right now is 30 milligrams. Depending on what you eat, how your metabolism is, the medication might work for a little bit longer or a little bit shorter. But on average, my doctor told me that, you know, I should feel like around 3 p.m. the medication starts dropping. I feel like I feel it a bit earlier than that. So that's why I think it's important to track when you're feeling those symptoms during the day, so that you can establish the right schedule for you. So I'm gonna go from least annoying to most annoying. So in terms of the least annoying, I'd say dry mouth. I mean, that was really mild. Then going to the bathroom more, that was annoying on day 1, but I don't think I experienced any of it by day 3. Fatigue, that one was the worst on day 1, and again it improved as the week went. Sweating, ooh, sweating is interesting. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, if you work in an office environment or you do something on a daily basis where you need to see people, that might be quite annoying for you. You might want to be prepared for having a shower kind of in the middle of the day, or at least like changing your clothes, because yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of stuff, and I think just the fact that you're running around doing a lot of stuff means that you sweat more, on top of the fact that the medication in itself I think increases sweating. You're just going to feel better if you are able to change in the middle of the day. The smell of the sweat is also a bit more prominent, but that might be simply that, you know, when you sweat more you just smell it more too. The next one is muscle aches. It's higher on the list because it has not gone away from me completely. They're not as bad as on sort of day 1, day 2. Specifically when it comes to arms and legs, they still ache a little bit, and I do try to, you know, stretch kind of on a daily basis because you can just feel your limbs more, I guess. I'll try to bring it up to my doctor next time. There's some anxiety. It's not the biggest problem. You can learn to tweak your schedule in a way that it's not as problematic for you. While I take the medication, I think I experienced 3 anxiety waves, and I just want to be clear that it's not the same anxiety as you might experience, you know, if you have anxiety disorder. With this one, it feels more like there's a cap to it, and the anxiety comes from restlessness more than anything else. If I want to try to do some reading or anything more cognitive, I would need to do it in the first 40 minutes of taking the medication, but then if I wasn't doing that already, I would want to start doing stuff around the house, just tasks that involve moving around, because that really helped not to feel anxious and restless. 2 hours after that, you feel the peak of the medication. You felt restless before. During the peak, you're gonna feel that even more. If I can go on a walk around 11, let's say, that helps to again ease that wave of anxiety. If you have a snack around 11, then I feel like that can also help a little bit. And then between like 1 and 2, I would start feeling like the medication is starting to drop. That's when I would want to take magnesium with lunch, and then I take the rest of my magnesium at night to help me sleep. I take electrolytes at 3 p.m. I don't know how much they help. The two main ones are restlessness and Elvanse crash. So in terms of restlessness, I spoke plenty about it. Well, the main issue is that I have not figured out a solution for it, and also it has not disappeared. When I do get a new job, how am I supposed to go to work and be able to sit at work for 8 hours? It might be just my specific case, and I'm not saying you're gonna experience the same thing. I feel like, especially during the peak times, there isn't really a chance to be like, today I'm just going to be sitting on the couch. By the time the peak comes around, I mean, you will want to move. The medication would be great to take on the weekend, or maybe, you know, on a Saturday, so that you can clean your place and meal plan. I mean, I don't know if anyone with ADHD meal plans, but, you know, if you feel like you would be strong enough to do that on the medication, I mean, hey, I'm not going to stop you. I will discuss this with my doctor and see what they say and whether, you know, we can kind of figure out a solution for that, I guess. For me, Elvanse crash is on the top of the list because it's the one thing that maybe in relation to the restlessness builds up a bit of resentment towards the medication. Elvanse crash, even though it sounds like it's something scary, it's just a phrase to describe the fact that, you know, your medication is going to drop off at some point. The feelings you might feel at that point. So, you know, irritability, being on edge, that's what my doctor told me. I mostly felt resigned and like maybe a little bit depressed sometimes. I have all those tasks that I want to do that involve me sitting down in front of my computer, but now I don't really want to do them because I'm already exhausted after the whole day of running around, and I know that I only have so many hours before I will have to go to bed, because then I need to wake up the next morning and take that medication again. I do wonder how it's gonna feel when I move on to a higher dose, because apparently the goal is to get to the dosage where you feel like you're in a state of flow, so like you don't feel you dropping in and out of medication. Another caveat is that I got my period in the middle of week 2, so it is possible that this was my PMS that was showing during those times in week 1. If you want to see a video about Elvanse and periods, after a couple of cycles, I might do that one as well, because interesting is the word that I would use. Just to be clear, none of those side effects at this point made me feel like I need to completely abandon the medication. I still want to continue trying it, but again, just to be completely transparent, those are the things that I experienced. So this is almost the end of the video, and I think the only question left is whether I recommend the medication. I recommend you try it, but I don't know if I recommend it for me yet. ADHD spectrum of experiences is quite wide, so it might be great for you. It might be life-changing for you. I was really scared of the side effects. I was really scared of how it's gonna feel. Just the whole idea of taking the medication felt really overwhelming, and this is the reason why I'm making this video in the first place, you know? Like, I don't want people to feel as scared as I did when I started taking the medication, and I hope that this video helps with that part of it. It's just not enough time to know yet if this is something that I will want to continue with long term. There are definitely clear benefits to taking this medication. You know, being healthier in terms of moving more, in terms of eating better quality food, doing all the little things that you might have not done for a couple of months that you should. From that perspective, yeah, the medication has been amazing. However, that issue of not being able to do more of those cognitive tasks is quite a big one for me. You are less able to just choose that today is going to be the day where you just sit on the couch and you rest. If your doctor approved it, you know, if you can take the medication 6 days a week rather than 7, then, you know, you get that one day. But generally speaking, it feels like every day you are on for a majority of the day. It's possible that this is something that will even itself out as we tweak my dosage, as more time passes, etc. So for now, I'm excited to see what the next chapter of taking the medication brings. What's going to happen when I move on to 40 milligrams, which is something that I'm going to do very soon as well. And I think I just need more time to figure out more things about it. If you guys like this video, if you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and hopefully I will see you soon to update you on my Elvanse journey with week 2. Bye!